I truly enjoy watching other people win. I enjoy when my clients win. I enjoy my employees are winning. So, my focus at this point in time is how do I help my people get better? How do we make this experience better for our clients? That would be my leadership style. I would say it's a servant leadership style.
Hey, what's going on, all you Keep the Changers? Man, we're glad you're with us this week. And actually, I have to tell you a little secret. I'm glad you're with us every week. You've been hearing me solo recently, and this week I have one of the best guests I've ever had. Now, no offense to the 172 guests we've had on before, but it seems to get better and better. You know what? They're all good. Everybody brings something to the table, and this guy is pure class and he's the guy I want to be when I grow up. Ladies and gentlemen, you know Rob Ruth. He's got successful Ford dealership in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. He's an incredible human. He and I have had an opportunity to hang out. And one of the things I really love about this podcast, as I was saying to Rob, is man, how many times, like if Rob and I just met, he probably wouldn't say yes about going to lunch. But since we've just met, now I get to hang out with him for 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so, and really go eyeball to eyeball with them and really understand what makes them tick. And you think you get a lot out of this, man. I certainly do too. So, Rob Root, thank you for joining us on the Keep the Change podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bart.
So,
Look
Rob,
forward.
tell us about you, your story. You've got an incredible family, you've got an incredible business family. Tell us about your story and what got you to where you are now, if you will.
So obviously, I'm in the car business. I like to say I was born in the car business because my mother and my father met at a car dealership. My dad was wholesaling cars to a neighboring dealer, and she was the title clerk at that neighboring dealer. They met, and here I am. So I was born into it. Unfortunately, that marriage did not last long, and I ended up living with my father. And he bought our dealership in 1983. I was 6 years old, and we moved into the dealership literally. So I lived in an apartment above a car dealership from the age of 6 to 12. So it's in my blood, it's in my nature. And, I've been working there since I've been 6 years old. I always say I swore I would never get in the car business as I got older. And, I ended up seeing that opportunity to help my family, et cetera, and move forward. So that's a little bit about it, but I'm happily married for 23 years now. I have three kids. I actually have just had a grandson as well. So, a lot of great things, a lot of blessings in my life.
Yeah, Rob, you are the best looking grandfather on the planet, man. You look lot you look a lot younger, and for you to have the gift of a grandson, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
grandson.
Congratulations. I know your daughter had a baby and that's a good thing. We talked about family before we got on this, and man, there's just nothing like it. And I never thought I'd love being grandparent. It's not just love being a grandparent, Rob. It's I love being a parent, man. Even though my kids are all older, to me, the relationships I have with my kids now are 10 times more rich than they were when they were young, and they were rich then too. I just really enjoy the friendships I've been able to get with those people. So
Look for it.
that's good stuff. So when you really look at what you've done in the business, you really have a mission statement, if you will, of changing the way people look at car dealerships and the reputation that car dealerships put out there. Your store, if you ever go on, you want to check the store out, go to Bob Ruth Ford and you can see the energy in the store right on the website. It's really cool. But tell us about your mission for that. Tell it because you haven't just been a small store in Pennsylvania. You've been a powerful force in Pennsylvania. So how did you do that? What was your strategy for that? And walk us through that a little bit. Would you please?
Yes. So, like I said, I was very reluctant to make the car business my career because it was kind of all I knew growing up. All we did was car business stuff. And it took me a while to realize as a second generation that, I wasn't taking the easy route. I was coming in to take it to another level, so to speak. So I thought one of the biggest challenge for me and myself was just that negative stigma of working at a car dealership. I felt like I was selling myself short as at a young age where, there was more out there. And I made that decision. And honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made. I mean, I've so many great things have come to me, my family, our employees from the car dealership. And I've just always wanted to change it. I was brought in at a time when the internet came out, so to speak, in the year 2000. Dealers were thinking that they were going to lose their franchise because the internet and the manufacturer was going to sell directly to the public. And I saw it as an opportunity. And when I got there, we were selling about 50, 60 cars a month. And together, my father and I grew that to almost 300 cars before he passed away. So
Mm.
that was exciting, and we did it differently. Like a lot of things that that negative stigma is just. I think it's how you treat the employees and how our business is known just to roll through people. And I learned from him. I mean, we value the people that work for us, and it's really important that we have a team atmosphere and we work together to solve a lot of problems.
When you look at your leadership style, how would you define it?
I I truly enjoy watching other people win. I enjoy when my clients win. I enjoy my employees are winning. So, my focus at this point in time is how do I help my people get better? How do we make this experience better for our clients? That would be my leadership style. I would say it's a servant leadership style.
You know what I love? One of the areas that I've grown so much just by studying Maxwell is this 5 levels of leadership, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's actually in chapter 1 of his book, Develop the Leader Within You 2.0. If you wanna read a great book on leadership, that would be one. But the level 1 is position, and I remember when I first started out, Rob, I threw staplers. I wasn't a really nice guy, and then I became level 2 of position a permission leader where people liked hanging out with me, and yet I was probably too friendly. And then I became a level 3 production leader, and of course, that kept me in the job, right? That's the only reason I kept my job. But the one that really changed me, and I've heard change so many times when I get to hang out with people, is the people development leader. And when you think about people development within your industry, what are some areas within your business? What are some areas where you really felt, whether it was you as the leader, your managers as leaders, or you were really good at developing managers, developing salespeople, developing a lot porter? What were some of the ways that your store still does every day on a daily basis, develop people and in the culture of your dealership?
It's funny you say that. It takes me to a place where I think I wasn't that great at that. At the beginning of my career, I kind of had a small store. You learn to do so much on your own, and you wear so many different hats. And it get you I got myself to a point in my career where I was just getting burned out. I was trying to do too much. And that was the time it was right around the time that my father passed away. I actually had a chance to step back and realize that, hey, I need to focus on my people. I need to focus on developing them, and they're going to be the ones that take this company to the next level. It's so important. People run your business. I mean, they are the business, and if we don't emphasize and put our efforts into helping them find career paths and that next level for them, I mean, we're just missing the boat.
I have an opportunity to do some work with a dealership in Georgia. Some of you may know who's just an incredible man of God, owns 8 different businesses, including a music studio in Nashville. His name is Drew Tutton. And Drew, when we first started doing coaching, he said, I was telling him, man, I think we've worked more on their marriage than we have on selling on leading teams. And he said, well, I got to tell you, if they go to coaching and I invest in it, and they come out of there as better husbands and wives because they went to the coaching. I'm all about that, but also frankly, I know if they're better at home, they're going to be better in the business. And
That's
and
right.
and that you have that mentality, but that's rare, right? That's just not super common that most business people look at it that way.
Well, especially in our industry where, it's, hey, the norm is, hey, bell to bell, and we're going to stay till the last customer leaves, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's a culture I always tried to change. We close at 7 o'clock every night, and we close at 3 o'clock on Saturdays, and we're
Mm,
closed on Sundays.
mm,
So it's not perfect, but I think it's manageable. That I always say you don't have to work if you work smarter, you don't have to work all those hours. And we're proving that.
yeah.
Uh, our average salesperson sells over 20 cars per month, where the national average is, I think it's around 10 still.
Mm.
So we do it in a shorter amount of time by being more efficient and, saving time for both our clients and for our people as well.
So you hit on one there. That's so big. Tell me how you get those kinds of numbers out of your individual people. You work less hours and nor as opposed to most stores, not you, but the store hours. You've got people that obviously like being there. You've learned how to build that culture there with them. But how do you get them to be efficient enough to really it sounds like they're selling a car a day pretty much.
That's,
What's
that's
the secret for that, Rob?
Well, I think as a dealer, we need to make sure there's opportunities, but then as a salesperson, they have to make sure they're bringing in their own opportunities as well. So we find a formula that, with between inventory and marketing, we're going to generate X amount of leads. And we believe that about eight opportunities per day will turn into maybe 4 appointments, which turns into one or two people that show up and one sale. So I mean, it's just math, Bart, and we found that process, and we just try to continue to replicate it with people and teach them how to accomplish that.
Yes, isn't that I mean, it is the math, isn't it?
It's math.
I
Yep.
have a very simple tool called a wagon wheel, and the wagon wheel starts with number 1, how many days you working? Starts with that.
Yep.
Number 2, how many people you're gonna speak to belly to belly a day? And
Mhm.
so if they work 20 days and they're gonna speak to 3, that's 60 people. How many and then we look at the percentages what NADA says for select, demo, inside, and numbers, and close. And if
Uh,
they talk to 60 people, they're gonna sell 18 cars.
that's right.
And
And
then how do you 3 a day? That's the question, right?
it's just math, but, honestly, and I think the big shift is our clients, they don't want to come to our store. I mean, people don't want to go to a car dealership, and I've recognized that. So I think the more information that we can share with people while they're not at the store, meaning most of them are contacting us before they ever get there. So we, instead of just trying to make an appointment, we try to help them further down the sales funnel and give them the information they need to make a better decision, which ultimately leads to some form of an appointment show,
Mm.
whether we take the car to them because they bought it, or whether they come in for a delivery. I mean, that's something that happens daily at our store. We really try to save time for the client and for ourselves at the dealership.
Mhm. So people don't wanna come in. That's what I'm hearing.
They don't, and I can relate to that. Who would, if I'm in the market to buy a car, the last thing I want to do is to spend 3, 4, or 5 hours at a car dealership.
Yeah.
I want to just kind of cut to the chase a little bit. There's
Mm.
info, obviously I have a good idea of what I'm looking for. And if I think if we can overcome the past of the car business where just get them in the door, no, don't just get them in the door, help them in the door.
Yeah.
Help them with the information that they need to make a good decision, and then trust that they will end up coming in by doing it and developing trust.
So good. I had an opportunity to do a contract with a company, and I'm not gonna say the name, I almost did, but they were doing a buy at home program for a major manufacturer, and it wasn't Ford. And I got to go on the road and help them with that. This was after COVID. And it was so interesting with that major manufacturer. It's not top 4. It's a struggling manufacturer, actually. It was so interesting because the dealers didn't wanna do that. They wanted to get them in, get them in, get them in, get
Right,
them in. And that mentality meant that that tool, which was right in front of them, which is what the people wanted, right?
right.
All they had to do was endorse it. And even if they they could endorse it and still have those people that trickle in that come in to buy a car, but it goes back to they wanted control, right?
Yeah.
Now and
I think you can let go of control and still be in control, you know? And
how?
we can lead well, I think we can lead our customers in the right direction. I You and I can talk right here like this, and I can help you buy a car. That's
Yeah,
in my store in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
It's funny, Bart, because I think you and I met during COVID, and I was pretty well known during that time because Pennsylvania, they deemed us non-essential for selling cars.
Mhm.
And I had just bought the store from my stepmother, from my father's estate, maybe 3 or 4 months before that, okay? And things were going great, then all of a sudden, the government shuts us down, and, I'm watching all these big box businesses, Lowe's and Home Depot, and just they're flourishing, and they wouldn't let us as car dealers sell with a remote delivery. I didn't even want people in the store, I just wanted to do a remote business transaction.
Mhm.
So I was very vocal about that, but that's a whole nother story. But what we learned during that time, we did not close down. We kept our business development center open, and obviously our inventory was still out there. People were still calling into the dealership. They're still sending in leads to dealership. Well, we put so many deals together that people never in the store. And once we were finally able to be open, we had 150 cars that we sold in that short period of time that, we had to deliver. And we were so organized, and people absolutely loved it. They were like, this is the best buying experience we've ever had
Mhm.
because they didn't have to come into the store to get the information that they.
Yeah.
So it's like click, ding, hello, this is what they want. Let's give it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Toyota has always kind of looked at that. Toyota as a manufacturer. How do we, matter of fact, I was part of the Scion team. And what they knew back then was that people didn't want to go through the process. And that was really the whole start of Scion, even though it didn't finish. The start of Scion was how do we change the process? And
Yeah.
ironically enough, the leader for Scion was Jim Farley. And he always believed that the old process had to be gone, right? He believed and that's what he was trying to install because they didn't have a lot of younger generation buyers when they started Scion. They were looking for those folks to come into their stores. What better way than to start a new product that was hipper? Don't know that it was, but the whole philosophy too was no negotiation and make it easy for the client to buy a car, right?
Yeah.
And
Make it easy for the client. Here.
yeah, I did a video. I do these videos every Wednesday, and I did one today on handling negotiation, and I was part of it when I first started off, and I said it was about having control in negotiation, and I thought, no, it's not control. It's about rapport. It's about connection. That's the control for 2026. If we don't, whether as leaders or salespeople with our families, if we don't have rapport and connection, we can't help them get what they want, and we
Trust.
don't get what
Dude,
we want, right?
trust.
Yes,
Trust.
it is. It is.
Now, if
So
you if you called me up and you're asking for pricing and you're saying, "Hey, I don't want to come in," and I say, "Well, I can only help you if you come in," that's not building trust. That's
mhm,
not me helping you. But if you call me for information and I immediately say, "Absolutely, what information can I help provide you here while you're at home, Art?" And we go through this process, and I'm answering your questions, and I'm getting you what you want. I'm building trust with you, and there's a very high probability that you're gonna wanna do business with me.
yeah,
I will too.
it's Rob, that's so good. So I got to ask you because I like to do work with middle managers. That's I'm selfish in this. So I'm going to ask you some question. What have you done? What have your leaders, we're going to call them leaders in your dealerships, done to help manage the business of those people that are getting 4 appointments a day? Obviously, you already mentioned a BEC. I'd love to hear your philosophy on that, how that's worked for you. But do you do daily one-on-ones with your people? Do you do daily sales training? Do they do checkouts? Tell me the philosophy that you like to install in your leaders to install in your salespeople that have led to that success we talked about a little bit ago.
So we have 3 teams within our organization, and on each team, we have a team leader, and then we have an assist to someone I would called a manager in training.
Mhm.
So that team leader, now that's not even they're not a desk manager, so to speak. They're a team leader, and they're compensated on the production of their team of salespeople, and
Okay.
they can hire, recruit, train, everything. So we train
Their business, right? It's their business. Okay.
it's their business. So, and that's aligned with the company because we need productive people in the organization. I always say I want to pay you more. I can't afford to pay you less. We need people to be productive. So I
Mhm.
think having the right structure really helps with that. And these team leaders, and we're constantly training them every day and really holding them accountable to, really get to know their people and know their areas of strengths and weaknesses, and setting goals and having plans and holding them accountable to the plans that they've agreed to. That to me is a secret. And I think sometimes dealerships run too thin, and it's just chaos, and there's no structure and organization, and there's really no plan, and they're just hoping things will happen. So I think for us, a little secret of that is just how we structure and set ourselves up for success with the right middle middle leaders like you're talking about, because they're the most important in my eyes.
Amen. I see.
Yep.
Yeah. You were gonna add something.
No, no, that was
So
it.
I want to get their day. I want you, if you would, walk through the day because there's a lot of dealers that listen to this saying, "Man, how do I get from 50 to 300, right? How do I get a your turnover is probably really low, I would guess, right?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very fun.
How would you, before we even get into this question, I have another one. How would you define your overall culture in your store? If you had 1 or 2 or 3 words, how would you define your overall culture in your store?
I want to create an environment where people want to work there. You
Mm,
know, I want a place that they can come, that they feel safe, they see opportunities, they see a path forward, and they're winning too. I mean, they need to win, and we want to attract people that want to grow themselves.
yeah.
So you know, we're in a town of 2,900 people, and we sell 400 cars per month. And we sell 8 used to 1 new. So
Mhm.
we're very unique in those things. And I think that we're not ever out there trying to find that celebrity or that superstar from another store. We're looking to hire from the ground at an entry level.
Mhm.
Maybe it's that kid that, doesn't know if he wants to go to college. Maybe he can't afford college, but he's looking for an opportunity. And we'll take that young man or young woman and teach them the basics. And if they can show that they can, follow the plan and do the daily work plans that we have for them, which is, it's connections, it's phone calls, it's texts, it's emails, it's just, making connections. If they showed that they could do that, then we'll graduate them, to our sales floor. And then from there, they can be a team leader. And then from there, they could go to this level, or there's a lot of different ways they could go in the organization. So
So, everybody growing from within?
I mean, I can tell you that, my right hand, I hired him in my for social media. Okay. Our general manager underneath him, he was hired as a service manager, then became fixed ops director, and then, now as a general manager. I can tell you numerous people that started for me in recon that are now sales managers. So yeah, there's a lot of great stories like that, and they're my favorite part. I mean, I just it's great to be a part of their lives and watch them grow and watch what happens when, you can help people get to another level, and the impact it makes on them and their families. Absolutely.
I grew up and my dad was a dealer too, actually, a Ford dealer in Toledo, Ohio. I moved to California when I was like 21 and I just got married and I'm working at a place called Stevens Creek Toyota and I in San Jose. And I actually interviewed with them. I came on my honeymoon. I came back 6 months later and the GSM sat me down and said, "Oh my gosh, I remember you. My sales manager interviewed you and he said we had to hire you. And I'm so glad you're in front of me." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'll go to war for this guy." And
Yeah.
and 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 that store, actually, I worked with a guy named Steve Cornelius, and Steve's dad owned the place. Well, Steve got fired by his dad because he was what he bring. He went to work for another store, came back, and today that store, I they have people that have been there 25, 30 years in the sales department. Service manager who's now started off as a porter, and he's now a general manager at another store they bought.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And you know what it is? Steve is a lot like you. You too. He's an athlete, and you're an athlete. You're competitive. He's competitive. I hope that someday, his name's Steve Cornelius. I hope someday you can meet him. But the point of that is it's all about 5 letters that start with T. If he trusts you, he's gonna build you. He's gonna grow you. And if you stay with him, he'll stay with you and he'll help you be better at what you do. Did he always start with the best team, with the best people? No, but because he believed in them, these people, they grew outside anything that they thought they could do, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Who's the person that if you look back at your career, your young career, because you're a young guy, if you look back at your career and you know, wise man once said, "Nothing is good or bad unless compared to something." I'm the older one in the room, bro.
Okay, I got you.
So what was
You said who? Who? I cut you.
who is that person that you raised and you said, "Oh my gosh, I saw it in them before they saw it in themselves, and I'm so glad that I didn't give up on them." Who was that for you, do you think?
I've got a couple of them. Here's a good one. I have a sales manager, and he's a senior sales manager, a high level in our organization. But he started for us in his early 20s. He actually had 2 kids. He started in the recon department, and I watched his work ethic, and I could just see that he could work, and I saw the effort that he put in. I saw character, the things that I would look for. I convinced, and he was going to college. To, he was dead set on going to college because he thought he needed a degree to get to where he wanted to be in life. And I had some long conversations with him, and I didn't argue with him. I said, "Listen, I'll support anything you want to do, but I'm looking at your situation here right now, and I believe that I can help you significantly if you just follow me. I'm gonna make a salesperson out of you." And I did, and he became our greatest salesperson, and then he became a sales manager, and then he's been promoted. I've actually sent him to NADA, the academy. He is at a GSM level, which would be at most stores. And his son just started working for us when he was in high school, and he started in as a porter, and he was in recon, and he just came on the floor. We put him in our entry level sales training. He worked in our business development for 90 days. We just put him on the floor. In his first 2 months, he's going to average over 25 cars sold as a 19-year-old kid. So to me, that's a great story. And, he really looks up to his dad. And I know he looks up to me, but being able to make those impacts, that they really stick with you. And I hope to tell many stories like this as I grow.
Yeah, you had said, "I wasn't sure if I want to get in the business." And I have to tell you, being in the business my whole life, I didn't live in the dealership, but I was there every Saturday morning and just hanging out and just enjoying the moments. But through the years, I've gotten jaded on the business.
Yeah.
And I think it's people like you that change that. Not think, I know it's people like you, heart, character. You mentioned that a little bit ago, who you are as a father, who you are as a husband, who you are as a leader, who you are as a giver to your people. That change that makes me love the business again. I had Frank Lopes on here and he went on, and Frank is so passionate. He said, "I love the car business." I love the car business. I think he said it 20 times. And I didn't want to interrupt him because he was so passionate about it. And yet, you know what it is, baby? I love the people.
Yeah.
I, I love the people.
Yeah.
And and the business that you and I know how it was is not who I want to be associated with. And obviously,
You know, when I say I didn't want, I watched my father he barely finished high school. He started as a mechanic, worked his way up and got into sales, became a general manager. bought our store with basically no money. Like
Yeah.
he had to have a partner that, had what did he have? He had a carpet business that he financed his inventory for carpet to buy the dealership. You know,
Yeah.
when I'm young, I'm watching my dad and we're painting in the weekends and we're, doing all these things. So it was he said he laid that foundation and maybe it was just like, I don't want to work like that. And I watched the struggles that he went through.
Yeah.
No man, and I'm glad. Obviously, I've had my own struggles as well, and I think those struggles are great. But yeah, you said it. I mean, the people were great, and I would looking back, it was the greatest thing I ever did. I never would have thought. We have 175 people that work for us, and I think about those families, and we're in a position every day that we can be a positive impact on a lot of people, plus our clients.
Well, you know what, man? Success leaves clues, and you can just tell that you love what you're doing, you love who you serve, you love what you'll be able to do the business, you love your community. I mean, it shows. And we there's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell called Love Works. Is that what it is? It's something like that.
Mhm.
But in the book, he talks because there's a couple different love books out there. Love Does is Bob Goff, but Goldsmith talks Malcolm Goldsmith, I think that's his last name. Excuse me if I chopped it up. But he talks about in studies of companies, the ones that are the most profitable, the most effective, that just explode beyond all others, is that word that we don't use in business, but love. When I say love, what does that mean to you in terms of your business and what you've installed, created, and that you've been such a legacy leader in? What's that mean to you personally?
I think love is a verb, you know what I mean? I think that's the thing that when we use that word, and if you've been married a long time, I mean, it's an action. It's not just a feeling. So
Yeah.
I think you need to love on your people. I mean, you need to care about people. You know, I
Yeah.
I think that the success of our organization is only going to come when our people are successful,
Yeah.
and it can't be a divide of company versus employees. We got to look at each other as partners almost in this business on how can we all win within it together. So alignment and yeah,
I love that.
yes, I love my people. I do. I mean, I try to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make them successful and able to hit their own personal, professional, financial goals, whatever it may be. I just want to give them that platform within our organization to do that.
Yeah, and that was a risky question, right?
Yeah,
What's love mean to you? But I knew
it's
because
fair.
I've followed you and I've seen what you've done. And I think that you've John Maxwell talks about the people pile. You've come out of the dealership pile to excel. There's a handful of people that have done that. You have, and it shows in your givitude. That's not even a word, but your ability to give and your ability to serve your people. I do want to back up a minute though, and it was that question I asked you a little bit ago, and I think I need to ask this for every dealer in the country that wants again to have salespeople that average 20 a month. Well, tell me about the day by day activity of your manager. We'll talk the senior manager and what their daily activities are to develop the daily activities of their salespeople. Help me a little bit with that, would you please?
We have a plan every day. We have a work plan like that each salesperson they need to accomplish, and we do hold them accountable to that. And we know, like, if you do these activities on a daily basis, they will compound, and you will be successful. So it starts as an agreement with that salesperson that they want to achieve these types of numbers. And if they do, then we agree this is the plan we're going to go to, and then we have daily accountability that these boxes get checked on a daily basis. So that to me, and now, like I said, we provide the inventory and we provide a lot of marketing and we make sure there's opportunities coming in, to each salesperson. But it's from there, they've got to follow the plan on how to communicate and when to communicate with their potential clients.
You had mentioned that you train your leaders. Tell me a little bit about how that looks, because that's an area that's been neglected, right? We hire the top salesperson at some stores, we put them on the desk. They sit at the desk all day, and they don't get out and wander. How does training leaders look like for Bob Ruth Ford?
Well, the first thing I've done or we've done, we've given them a book that you've already mentioned, the 5 levels of leadership. And meaning, okay, you've been promoted. Great. You have a title and that's it. Right?
Yeah.
So the rest, you're going to have to build relationships. You're going to have to build trust with your people. They're going to only respect that title a small amount, Bart. Right? And until we can develop people underneath, say, senior managers to really connect with people on their team, to really have their backs and know and build that trust that our people can trust the fact that, hey, this person actually does care about my success. And the reason that they're maybe holding me accountable is because they want to see me succeed. So I think that those 5 levels of leadership, that's how we would train our people, you know? You're just a title star, and congratulations, like, you made it in the door, but there's a whole lot more to this, and there's a lot to learn, and for myself included. I mean, we can always get better as leaders and figure out how to solve more problems and be more of a positive influence to people.
How important are the daily one-on-ones for your team, for your folks, your senior sales manager?
Yeah, extremely. That's not even optional. And if if I have a team leader and there's 5 or 6 people that, first of all, I'm depending on them and they're depending on me, we're going to have to communicate. And those meetings should be, if they're on track and they're doing a great job, you still need to have a meeting and you need to congratulate them and pat them on the back and say, hey, what can I help you with? I see you're knocking it out the park right now. You're busy. What can I do to help you? And then you might have somebody on the flip side that's really struggling, like, "Hey, I see you're struggling. I understand. We can get back on track. This is what we need to do today. How can I help you with this? Let's get a plan together. Let's execute it to just make this needle move here in the right direction."
You have a huge buy center, don't you? Tell me a little bit about that. What that obviously you're selling 8 to 1.
Yeah,
Inventory is everything. Tell me about that process and how you've established that to the level that you have. Because it
yeah.
probably started with one once upon a time. How did you build it? What was the strategy for you to build that and to take
That
these
was the
things?
most story, for years I was, man, you hear we talked about it at 20 groups. Hey, CarMax, Carvana, they're buying cars from the public. We need to figure out how to do this. Well, COVID happens and, obviously inventory values went sky high. Then all of a sudden the microchips happen and we had no new cars. Okay. And all of a sudden, we're in a situation where we kind of just got over being shut down and we're back to work and we're a volume store. So we're in a situation where we have enough inventory and, honestly, a panic situation to me because the last thing I wanted to do was let go of people again because it was like, this is one of the worst things that's happened. We've got to figure out a way to put food on the shelf. So honest to God, I started just from my cell phone. I went on Facebook Marketplace and I just started messaging people that had their car for sale. And the first day part, I think I bought 5 cars just communicating with people. And I'm like, wow, look at that. The second day was same thing, another 5 or 6 cars. And then I'm like, I'm talking to our team. I'm like, what's happening here? We can do this, but it can't just be me. We got to scale this. So it started from there, and then we put somebody in a role that, like, we started with one, then we went to two, and we just have people that are looking for people out in the market that are looking to sell their car, and we communicate with them, and we I like to say we help them sell their car, and we make it easy for them to sell their car. We're providing a service, not just, hey, we buy out cars. So we'll go to their house, we'll do sight unseen, we'll do whatever we can to take that pain away from that individual that's trying to liquidate their car for whatever reason it is. But yeah, we average almost 200 plus. We're probably about 250 cars a month that we buy from the public in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania, town of 2,900 people. So, I'm really proud of that. Our team's great. I mean, yeah, it started with with me doing that, but it's so much bigger than that now, and everybody's bought in, and it's a way for us to, we acquire more people that do business with us too. We're helping more people out. It gets our name out there. It's how we're going to keep scaling and growing.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that script, if you would, without giving me all your trade secrets, but I'm sure you don't mind sharing. But tell me about your buyer and how does that call sound when they call up somebody from Marketplace, Auto Trader? I'm sure they're going everywhere they can to look for people. How does that script sound?
Well, it just starts with information. I mean, we need some information. Hey, I'm Rob. Look, I'm very interested in your car, Bart. Would you mind sharing the VIN number with me so I can, I'd like to make you an offer on your vehicle. It's. I don't think it needs to be as complicated as people might portray it or think it should be.
Mm.
It's really just that person is looking to liquidate their car, and we just try to make it very easy for them to do business with us. So
Yeah,
I don't try to make an appointment. We do sight unseen appraisals. We share information. We don't always get it right, but when you look at the big picture, it makes a heck of a lot of sense.
oh yeah,
You know,
equal success. Massive, right?
makes massive sense because again, we're helping people out in our communities. Okay. And then, we don't have auction fees. We're not paying huge transportation costs. So when you do that at scale and you look at the cost savings of those things versus going to the auction, it's significant, you know. So yeah, that is a little secret to our success.
Yeah, congratulations. So, when you look at the person that for one thing, I love this quote. I want to share this quote with our audience. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes.
Shoes.
You can steer
Here's
yourself.
any
And
direction you choose.
who was that?
Yeah. I read that book to my kids every night growing up.
Oh, that's so good. Which
Yeah,
explains who you are as a father too. That's
yeah,
Dr. Pete's. That's so good. That says everything, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
So
So
good.
my son's a senior, and we just bought an ad in his yearbook, and I put a picture of him, and I put that quote on
Oh,
there.
didn't you?
Yeah,
That
yeah. So
that that's
there,
so
it's everything.
that's so good. So who is we're pushing it, man. I told you 35, so I hope you're okay. So
Yeah,
thank you for doing this. We'll wrap up here. But man, I could hang out with you for a bit. That's for sure. This has really been fun for me. I hope for you
yeah,
too. But when you look at back, and I know your dad had a huge influence on you, it just sounds like it. You learned from his struggles and his victories, and it's no secret why you're like why and how the legacy was left from him to you.
yeah,
And maybe it's him, maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's a couple people who have had the most impact on you, Rob.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely my father. I mean, we were partners for 17 years, and he was my dad, and he taught me a lot. He taught me the value of hard work. I mean, he really did. I mean, I watched that man like I said, paint the whole dealership himself. I mean, he was like no other. And Bart, he was just so good with people. He was just like he just light up a room. He was just so attractive, and he could communicate so well with anyone, become friends with everywhere we went. I used to hate it as a kid, but I just respect it so much now as an adult.
Mhm.
And then, and as I'm in the role that I'm in and he's not here, man, how much I miss him or how much there was times I'm like, man, what does he do? And you don't realize the weight that people carry, all the time until you're kind of in their shoes. So I just respect him for that. I learned a lot of good and a lot of bad from him too. So, he
Amen.
had most impact on me for sure.
My mama passed at 97, but I might have told you this story because I brag on my mama. At 59, she took over my dad's International Harvester truck dealership when my dad passed, and
Yeah.
she sold it at 90 to a mega dealer with 3
That's,
roofs.
yeah, that's amazing.
And one day I asked her, "Why'd you do this?" She said, "I had to." At that point, International Harvester was in bankruptcy. Money was going out the back door. Parts were going out the side door. But you know what she had? She had people that loved my dad, a couple of them, a 35-year service manager, Dick Flaeth, and a 30-year parts manager, Denny Epsch. And those 2 guys poured their heart into her because they loved my dad.
Yeah.
And that she'll always tell she would if she was here right now, she would tell me, but I've never seen a better leader.
Yeah.
And she didn't walk in knowing anything. She went to school at night, so she learned the business, but she didn't act like she did. She
Yeah.
walked in humbly, beautifully dressed, and her office was in the service department with all that diesel fuel flowing under the door. But she didn't change who she was for somebody else. And she came with class and dignity for other humans. She always respected other people.
Amazing.
And so, and I hope I got part of that, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned develop the leader. I just started a 6-month mastermind group. It's actually bigger than just a mastermind on the book Jack Winning by Jack Welch, because you mentioned winning. Have you read that book?
I have not read it, but I've heard of the book many
It's
times.
a
Yeah.
great book. And the first chapter is on mission and values. You could write this thing, right? The
Yeah.
second chapter's on candor. It's just so good. We're going to spend 24 weeks in this book between one-on-ones and group, changing culture within an organization. And yeah, I just started reading the book myself, and it's a good one. It's fun to have new content. So that's good.
Yeah.
So you're a father, you're a husband. You've been married for how long?
23 years.
Tell me of the secret of your marriage.
I mean, I think picking the right partner, first of all. God bless my wife, because I mean, we've had a very traditional marriage for the majority of, she stayed home with our kids and I went to work. She always says she was a single parent for the first 10 years of our marriage because it's true. You just never saw me. I think, I think trust is huge. I think, just communication, someone that like we had common goals and we had a vision for our life and we've really gotten there together. Not exactly how we didn't plan it exactly, but we've gotten there together and we've been through a lot of those challenges together. So yeah, she's been great. I can't complain at all about my
Th-
wife.
Thank you for that.
And I supported her too because I won one. I would never have been able to stay home with my kids. It just never would have been easy for me.
Mhm. Yeah. I have to ask that question because when I see somebody like you, I admire that's having success in so many areas of their life.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues. And we talked about this offline about how hard it is for people in this business in terms of marriages because of the hours. And that you've made it a point to prove how you can do this. And I'm in a love story myself that I cherish and wouldn't be the man I am without my
And it's funny because I always told her too. I was like, "Hey, one of the," because in my own vision, I knew that one day I would build a team that I didn't have to do all the day to day stuff, and I would just be in the role that I'm in now.
Mm.
And I told her it was going to come, and here we are, and we're both like, "I'm not used to spending this much time with you," So, but we worked through it.
Yeah. I told my wife, we're in a different season than you are, and I'm never retire. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
But I really mean this, that I told my wife today, I just wanna hang out with them. I mean, I just love hanging out with 'em.
yeah,
And anytime that I'm like needy, which I can get that way, I just it's just I wanna be with her because she's
yeah. That's great.
mother. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
just don't chase her away.
just what?
Don't chase her away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not too needy, I
Yeah.
promise. Gotta give that space, no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
the space, that's for sure.
Well, the good news is I travel with that. Never say that she's mad I follow, ever,
Yeah,
but
perfect.
it's probably good for her. She then
Yeah.
gets to it's
It's great. It's great for us. I mean, I travel as well, so, just a couple days that we both get to ourselves and just
yeah,
you come back and it's
yeah,
great.
and then the welcome home is worth it all.
And
Yes. So, hey, my friend, thank you so much. If there's one little bit of advice that you'd like to give somebody who's trying to make their dealership rock and roll, or maybe it's something as a father or a husband, what advice could you give somebody as we wrap it up today?
I think you gotta find the right mentors and ask for help. I mean, there's people out there that have done much more than I have, and I just try to find people that I am inspired by, that I admire, and just how do they get there, and what steps can I take to be more like you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Find the right mentors.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. And I get that. I get that. It's success leaves clues, as our good friend Tony Robbins says. And I'm always looking for who's doing it right, and you're definitely somebody doing it right. So thank you for this time. I'm honored. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a good time. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
All right, my friend.
All right. Take care.
God bless you. Thanks again.
All right. Bye bye.
Hey, if you like this, go ahead and share it with somebody. Throw it out there in those airwaves. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week on Keep the Change. Thank you, everybody.